There are places on this planet that do not tolerate human life, and each one kills you in a completely different way. 10 places, 10 ways to die. Some will boil you, some will freeze you solid. One will arouse you at the level of your cells in about 5 minutes. And the last place on this list hides a mystery, a wartime legend so famous it entered the record books and turned out to be almost entirely false. We're counting down from number 10. None of these places kill the same way twice. You'll see a lake that killed 1,700 people without a sound, a place so cold your breath freezes into a whisper, and a hole in the sea that divers walk into and never walk out of. Number 10. At the bottom of South America, where 2 oceans collide, sits the deadliest stretch of water sailors have ever known, Cape Horn. For 4 centuries, this was the only route between the Atlantic and the Pacific. To sail it was to gamble with your life. They called it the Everest of the sea. The water here sits just above freezing. Fall in, and your body has minutes. The cold shuts down your muscles before you can be pulled out. More than 800 ships rest beneath these waters. Over 10,000 sailors never came home. Most were never found. Sailors had a grim saying about these latitudes. Below 40 degrees south, there is no law. Below 50, there is no God. Cape Horn sits at 56. The winds here are unbroken by any land. They circle the entire planet, building speed with nothing to stop them until they slam into this single point of rock. Gusts can exceed 200 kilometers an hour. Ships could spend weeks trying to round the horn, driven backward again and again by the wind. Some captains gave up and turned around, sailing the entire way across the Pacific the other direction rather than face it. The horn didn't just kill. It broke people. Those who survived earned the right to wear a golden hoop earring and to dine with 1 foot on the table. A badge for cheating this place. From water cold enough to kill in minutes, we go to the opposite extreme. A place hot enough that nothing survives. Number 9. In southeastern Iran lies the Lut Desert. On the map, it's just empty space. There's a reason for that. In 2005, a NASA satellite recorded the surface here at 70.7 degrees Celsius. Later readings hit 80.8. That's the hottest ground ever measured on Earth. Now, that's the ground, not the air. The air record belongs to Death Valley. But here, the black rock and the mountains trap the heat like an oven with the door shut. The heat here is so complete that a dead animal doesn't rot. There's not enough moisture, not enough bacteria. It simply dries into a natural mummy. The Lut's strangest feature is a field of wind-carved ridges called yardongs, running over 100 kilometers. They are so alien that scientists have compared this ground to the surface of Mars. In one part of the desert, the heat, salt, and acidity combine so completely that scientists found something remarkable. Water where not even microbes can live. On a planet covered in life, they found a place with none. The desert kills you by taking every drop of water from your body. The next place kills you with water. Water that dissolves you. Number 8. In northern Tanzania, there is a lake the color of blood. Lake Natron. From above, it looks like a wound in the earth. The water carries so much natural soda ash that its pH can reach 10.5, close to ammonia. And it runs hot, up to 60 degrees Celsius. Animals that die in this water don't decay. The chemicals preserve them, calcifying the body until it looks like a stone statue washed up on the shore. The famous photos of these creatures posed as if alive, those were arranged by an artist. But the calcification itself, that part is real. And yet, This deadly lake is the safest place on Earth for one creature. Millions of flamingos gather here to breed, precisely because the caustic water keeps every predator away. Life uses the poison as a wall. Lake Natron kills what touches it. The next place killed 1,700 people in a single night and left no marks at all. Number 7. In northwest Cameroon sits Lake Nyos. It looks peaceful, but beneath its surface something was building for years. The lake sits over volcanic gas. For decades, carbon dioxide seeped up and dissolved into the deep water, held down by pressure. A hidden bomb waiting. On the night of August 21st, 1986, something triggered it. The lake exploded. A cloud of carbon dioxide, heavier than air, poured down the valley. The gas smothered everything in its path. 1,746 people. Thousands of cattle. They simply stopped breathing where they stood. There were no wounds, no signs of struggle. People were found mid-conversation, mid-step, as if time had simply switched off. Today, engineers have run pipes into the lake to bleed the gas out slowly. But 2 other lakes like it exist. One of them has 2 million people living on its shores. When scientists first described what happened here, many refused to believe it. A lake that suddenly suffocates a whole valley. There was no name for such a thing. They had to invent one, a limnic eruption. Nyos was the first ever recorded. A few survived, those who happened to be on higher ground. One man woke to silence. His lamp had gone out. His family lay still and the air smelled faintly sour. He walked for hours through villages where nothing moved, believing he was the last person alive. Lake Nyos kills with something you can't see. The next place kills with something you can see. Thousands of them, and they're all watching. Number 6. Off the coast of Brazil lies an island the government has made it illegal to visit. Ilha da Queimada Grande, Snake Island. The island belongs to one species, the golden lancehead viper. Trapped here when the sea rose thousands of years ago, they evolved a venom strong enough to kill fast because their prey could fly. That venom can melt human flesh around the bite and cause bleeding that won't stop. On the mainland, this snake's cousins are already among the deadliest in the country. There's an old lighthouse on the island. Legend says the last keeper and his family died when snakes came through the windows at night. Whether every detail is true or not, the island has been sealed ever since. Estimates of how many snakes live here vary wildly. Old television shows claimed 1 per square meter. The real number is likely a few thousand across the whole island, but even that means you are rarely more than a few steps from one. The irony is that this terrifying snake is now endangered. Poachers smuggle them out to sell, and the species survives nowhere else on Earth. The island that kills to keep people out may not be able to protect itself. On Snake Island, the danger is alive. In the next place, nothing is alive at all. It is simply too cold. Number 5. Deep in the interior of Antarctica sits Vostok Station. It holds a record no other place on Earth can challenge. On July 21st, 1983, the thermometer here read -89.2 degrees Celsius, the coldest air ever recorded on the surface of this planet. At this temperature, exposed skin freezes in minutes. Your breath freezes in the air the instant it leaves your mouth. And the ice crystals grind together with a faint hiss. The people who live in Siberia's cold have a name for that sound. They call it the whispering of the stars. The cold is not the only danger. Vostok sits nearly 3,500 meters up on top of the ice. The air is thin. So the body fights the altitude and the cold at the same time and loses to both. And beneath the station, sealed under nearly 4 kilometers of solid ice, lies a hidden lake, Lake Vostok, cut off from sunlight for millions of years. One of the most lifeless-looking places on Earth sits directly above one of its greatest mysteries. The cold kills you slowly, from the outside in. The next place kills you from the inside out, and you can't see it, hear it, or feel it coming. Number 4. Beneath the ruins of the Chernobyl nuclear plant, in a dark corridor sealed inside concrete, sits one of the most dangerous objects ever created by accident. They call it the elephant's foot. It's not fuel, and not quite lava, a molten mass of reactor core, sand and concrete that fused together in the meltdown and cooled into something new, something that should not exist. In 1986, standing beside it for 5 minutes was a death sentence. The radiation tore through cells faster than the body could ever repair them. Organ failure would follow in days. The radiation was so intense it fogged camera film instantly. To photograph it, scientists had to push a mirror around the corner and shoot the reflection. No one could look at it directly and be safe. Scientists gave this substance a name, corium. It formed when the reactor core melted through everything beneath it, mixing with sand, concrete, and steel into a single flowing mass. There was so much of it, it earned a darker nickname, the China syndrome made real. Decades later, the elephant's foot has cooled and weakened, but it is still there, still deadly, sealed inside a massive steel structure built over the entire reactor. It will remain dangerous long after everyone reading about it today is gone. In the years after the disaster, teams were sent to measure it. They worked in shifts of seconds, not minutes, running in, taking a single reading, running back out. Even that brief exposure was a risk they accepted, because someone had to know how dangerous it still was. The elephant's foot kills with something invisible in the air. The next place kills with something invisible in the water, 100 meters down, in total darkness. Number 3. On the coast of Egypt lies the Blue Hole. From the surface, it's a beautiful circle of deep blue water. Divers call it something else, the Divers' Cemetery. The danger is a tunnel called the Arch, 55 meters down, that leads out to the open sea. To reach it, divers go deep, and at that depth, the nitrogen in the air they breathe turns toxic. It's called nitrogen narcosis. It feels like drunkenness. Divers lose track of which way is up. Some have been found still swimming, downward, into water far too deep to survive. Estimates put the death toll here at over 100 divers in recent decades. On the cliff above the water, a row of stone plaques carries their names. Each one faced the same tunnel. The hole drops to more than 100 meters, deep enough to swallow a 30-story building. Sunlight fades to black long before the bottom. Divers describe passing a point where the water simply becomes darkness below them. What makes it so deadly is how easy it looks. There's no long boat trip, no harsh conditions. You can walk in from the shore. That accessibility is exactly why so many underestimate it, and why the plaques keep multiplying. The Blue Hole kills you where there's too much water and too little air to breathe. The next place kills you where there's almost no air at all. Number 2. Above 8,000 meters on Mount Everest, there is a region climbers call the Death Zone. The name is not an exaggeration. Here, there is only a third of the oxygen your body needs. Above this line, you are slowly dying. Your cells begin to shut down. No one can stay long enough to recover. More than 300 people have died on this mountain. Most of them are still here. The cold preserves them, and the terrain makes recovery nearly impossible. Some of the fallen have become landmarks, grim waypoints that climbers use to measure their progress toward the summit. In the death zone, the line between climber and monument is thin. In the death zone, time itself is the enemy. Every minute above 8,000 meters, your body consumes itself. Climbers have a narrow window to reach the summit and descend. Miss it, and the mountain keeps you, and no one can carry you down. A helicopter cannot fly this high. Another climber, barely able to keep themselves alive, cannot drag a body through this thin air. In the death zone, if you fall, you stay where you fell. Everything on this list so far has been true. Number 1 is different. It's the most famous killer place of all, and most of what you've heard about it never happened. Number 1. Ramree Island off the coast of Burma. In 1945, during the final months of the Second World War, this swamp became the setting for one of history's most horrifying stories. The story goes like this. Around 1,000 Japanese soldiers retreated into these mangroves. The swamp was home to saltwater crocodiles, the largest reptiles on Earth. And that night, the soldiers began to disappear. These were not ordinary predators. Saltwater crocodiles are the largest reptiles alive, up to 7 meters long, over 1,000 kilograms, with the strongest bite ever measured in any living animal. To them, a man in the water is simply prey. For decades, the Guinness Book of Records listed it as the worst crocodile attack in history. 900 men, eaten in a single night. The story appeared in books, documentaries, everywhere. But when historians actually examined the records, the number collapsed. Most of those men died of something else: dehydration, disease, and the fighting itself. The real crocodile toll was likely a few dozen at most. So where did 900 come from? The number appears to have grown in the retelling, a mix of wartime propaganda, a survivor's vivid account, and the simple fact that a swamp full of giant crocodiles makes a better story than dehydration and disease. The real horror of Ramree was quieter, and in some ways worse. Men lost in a maze of mangroves, out of clean water, sick, exhausted, listening to sounds in the dark. The crocodiles were real. The 1,000-man massacre was not. The truth is smaller than the legend, but the legend tells us something too. When a place is frightening enough, we are willing to believe almost anything about it. 10 places? 10 different ways this planet can end a human life. Cold, heat, water, air, poison, radiation, each one indifferent, none of them cruel. The Earth isn't trying to kill you. It simply doesn't need you to survive. If you had to step foot on just one of these places, which would it be? Tell me in the comments. And if you made it this far, you already know there's more where this came from.